You've deployed as a virtual desktop or Windows 365, your image looks perfect, but users still say how slow it is to log in. You've optimized your FS Logic settings, you tuned it as your file storage, yet that little please wait circle keeps on spinning. Here's the truth. It's not your storage, it's not your profiles, it's Windows itself silently unpacking apps users will never open. Xbox, News, Solitaire, Clipchamp, whatever, even Copilot. Every time a new user signs in, Windows provisions and registers these apps in the background, and that wastes seconds, sometimes 10 to 24 seconds every single time. So I've seen it time and time again in multiple customers. You can literally watch the CPU spike as Windows loads all of this stuff that no one needs. Here's the good news, you can fix it. No PowerShell scripts, no crazy scripting, just one little Intune policy or group policy setting. So we can remove the bloat, keep what matters, calculator, paint, snipping tool, and your AVD Windows 365 session host instantly feel faster, lighter, and a lot more professional to the users. In this video, we're going to explore the new capability that Microsoft released as part of 25H2, which enables you to remove store apps using Intune or group policy without having to run any custom scripting. So I'm going to show you exactly which settings to use, which apps to keep, and how this single tweak can make your users think you doubled their VM performance. So if you're into Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365 or Intune, and you love squeezing every ounce of performance from those session hosts, then please hit that subscribe button. I drop deep dive videos every week to help you optimize, automate, and scale smarter. Alright, so let's jump straight in and clean up those Windows images once and for all. Faster logons mean happy users, and happy users make you look like a hero. What problem are we trying to fix here, and why would we want to remove these apps? And how do they make the login experience and user experience much quicker? So Windows Store apps, also called UWP or MSX apps, install per user, not per machine. Every time someone logs into Windows, Windows has to register those apps again inside their profile. That's handled by the Apex deployment service, and that checks every manifest, every dependency, every icon, and that all adds time to your logon process. Now, imagine this is in a pooled AVD setup. Each new session that logs onto the session host means that a fresh round of app registration, and if the store updates are enabled, these apps can even start updating in the background. That means CPU spikes, I/O, and extra delays before the desktop becomes responsive. So let's take the Xbox app as an example of this. Even if you never launched it, it still installs during the background service, like gaming services, and then tries to initialize when you log in. Same thing with Copilot. It might reach out to update components or register background tasks like the Windows search and the taskbar, and all this adds friction to what should be a smooth user login experience, and even after the user's logged on. So yeah, next time you're troubleshooting slow logons, don't just blame FS Logic or GPOs. Check those Windows Store apps because they could be the root cause of the issue. Sometimes the problem isn't your configuration, it's the hidden bloat quietly updated behind the scenes, and that's what we're going to look at in today's video. Okay, so the feature that we're talking about is in the release notes. We'll just head over to release notes here. You can see here policy-based removal of pre-installed Microsoft Store apps, right? So that's what we're going to explore today. So you do need Windows 11 25H2, right? So if you've got 24H2, this won't work. So this basically enables you, as you can see here, streamline provisioning and prevent apps such as Clipchamp, Media Player, and Teams from reappearing, because sometimes what we see is you run the optimization scripts, you remove Teams, Clipchamp, whatever, and somehow it gets back in there. Maybe we do an update of the image, or we do an update of the session host, and it just reappears. This is what we're going to try and fix today. There's another Microsoft KB article on here, which shows you how to configure this. So we'll head into the Intune portal and show you how to configure these settings. After you've enabled the setting, the users basically need to log out and log in again for it to kick in. So we'll see what that looks like, and then we'll go through the settings in the Intune portal. All right, let's head over there now. And let's have a look at this setting. We'll create a policy, and then we'll apply that policy to some test VMs that I've got running, and then we'll see where we go. Okay, so we're in the Intune portal. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to devices, and we're going to create a new policy. Okay, so I'm going to go to configuration, manage devices, and it's just a test one that I was playing about with earlier. So we're going to click the create and create a new policy. Okay, so I'm going to select my platform. So we're going to select Windows 10. Profile type, so this is the settings catalog. The settings to control this are in the Intune settings catalog. I'm going to click next. So YouTube app removal tests. This will remove all of the store apps. Click next. Configurations. Here's where we select the settings from the settings catalog. So I'm going to go to add settings. and then we are going to go to administrative templates, and then we are going to go to Windows components, and then app package deployment. This is where the setting is. We're going to go to the settings. Now here you can see the settings. So we've got remove default Microsoft Store packages from the system. For this test, we can do all of them, but let's go through a few examples. One, so for example, we can do like Windows 365, so you may not want that. If you don't use it, there's no point in having it on the image. You can see Clipchamp there as well. I don't know where any enterprise user would need to use Clipchamp, so that's another one. And we've got Microsoft News. Again, we can remove that. Photos, you may want to keep that. People may use that. Sticky notes, definitely want to keep that because a lot of people do find that useful. And then we've got Teams. I presume you want to keep Teams inside there. And then we've got Microsoft To Do. Again, probably use one to keep in there. And then you got Weather, Paint, blah, blah, blah. You get the gist. So you probably want to go through and identify which ones you don't want and which ones you want to keep in your environment. But stuff like the Xbox gaming app and the Xbox stuff, we definitely need to remove that because I can't think of any reason why you want that in a corporate environment. We'll just select all of these now. Click Next. If you need to select some scope tabs, you can select that here. Now here's the assignments. We can be picky about what devices we want it to be assigned to. I've pre-created a group that I've got, so I'm just going to add a group. I've pre-created a group, and that group is remove store apps. Now you can make that a dynamic group if you wanted to. For example, if you wanted to apply this to all your AVD session hosts by default, we can create a dynamic group which looked at your AVD session hosts and then basically adds those to a group, and then we'll apply this group to that. Okay, and then that basically means that anytime you got a new session host which provisions, it can automatically inherit this policy, right? Or you can just do it manually. But dynamic groups is the way that most people do it because it means it's less effort for you. You just create the initial config and then bam, it runs itself. So we're just going to select that. So you can see here I've got one device in here as well. And click Next, and that's pretty much all we have to do. We just click the create button, okay, and then that's going to create that policy, right? So that's it from a sort of admin perspective. It's pretty simple. Those session hosts that we provision or Windows 365 desktops should then have all those applications removed, which will hopefully help the login experience for the user as well. You can also do this via group policy. You don't have to do via Intune. So obviously you need to make sure that you import the latest 25H2 GPO settings, but you can do this via GPO or Intune. I'm using Intune because I think going forward, that's where most customers are going to be going. Okay, now that we've put the setting in place, let's go and have a look and log on to a session host that's been added to this group. Okay, so we just logged on to the session host. You can see here we've got some messages saying all these terminal recently added, snippets all recently added. That's the Apex service or the Windows Store installing all the stuff we don't want. Okay, let's see what happens here now. So terminal is currently there at the moment. Let's just wait a second and then basically see what happens after these settings have been applied. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log off and then log on again and see what happens. Okay, so I'll be back shortly. I've fallen foul of not reading the documentation properly. Right, so as you can see here, it says the following packages will be removed null. Right, so I recheck the policy settings, everything is applying. This is a Windows 11 multi-session host, and that's the problem. This feature does not support multi-session. This feature is only for Windows 365 desktops and also for AVD single session desktops. Okay, so that's why it's basically saying the following package will be removed null. Alright, so if you running AVD multi-session environment, then you probably want to still do this the old way, which is removing those packages from your image using the optimization scripts. What I'm doing, I'm just provisioning some single session desktops in the background, which will look exactly the same as a Windows 365. Then we'll have a look again and see what the effect is there. Alright, back shortly. Alright, so what you're looking at the moment is we logged onto this session host. We can see it's kicked off and basically said, hey, I need to install all these applications. We can see there it's currently using 27% CPU, bit of memory, but it's also using some disk IOPS as well. This is the actual Apex store packages installing onto the machine. What you'll see is you'll get them pop up when they finished here, and they'll pop up saying recently installed. It's actually going to go ahead and install all those Apex packages into the VM as well. Now, the interesting thing here, as you can see, this is the policy in effect. So the following packages will be installed. It's going to install all of those. But now we've got this extra one, which says the following packages will be removed. Okay, So it's going to go ahead and remove all the stuff we configured within the policy. We'll let that run through. When that's finished, we'll go and check. This is the policy setting in action. And I've got these applications. I'm now going to remove them as well. So we go back to our task manager and we can see it's actually running there, and it's going to go ahead and do that action. All right, so back shortly. Right, so we can see in the log is actually going ahead and it's going to remove all those applications. So yeah, that's the policy in action. You can see here we've got some logs basically saying you can't remove those as an error, probably because they're not installed in the first place. So all of these stuff haven't had a chance to install yet, but we selected them to uninstall. That's the policy in action, because if I go search for like Bing weather, for example, so if I go to here, type in Bing, if I search for the Xbox, it's not there. If I go install for this for terminal, it's not there. It's not installed. So it's pointing me to the store apps, which obviously are not there. You could also create a policy setting to disable the store completely as well if you wanted to. So that would stop people from having the ability to go down and install the apps themselves as well. The policy is doing what we told it to do. It's stopping these applications from being installed in the first place. And if it finds any apps, it will actually uninstall those as well. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. I hope you've learned something. So I think for me, the biggest takeaway from this, how easy it is, right? So obviously a bit disappointing limitations about the multi-session desktops, but I can get the complications that you have around like multi-user and that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll have multi-user in the future. So I mean, my biggest takeaway from this is just so simple to configure and deploy, right? You create a dynamic group, you configure the settings, then boom, off you go, and then it will just work in the background, and then apply those configuration settings, and then hopefully make your single session and Windows 365 session host a lot snappier. A lot less security risks as well, right? Because we don't have those applications on those desktops that people don't need. And that can sometimes be a hacker's way in. You're improving security, you're improving the user experience, but be careful with what you do remove. You don't want to be removing stuff which people need, like sticky notes, for example. So definitely be a bit picky and speak to your users and find out what they do want and what they don't want. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's it from today's video. Please click that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.